Hi guys, and welcome to Just So Rare. Another video again on Soraredata and their update and the techniques that I would use to try and find players who are possibly out of form and have dropped in price because of that. Now for this example, I'm going to use strikers because, as anyone knows who's already playing So Rare, other than goalkeepers, strikers are the most expensive players on the platform. If playing on a small budget, it's very difficult to get a decent striker for less than 350, 400 quid, and they are not always guaranteed starters either. So I'm going to see what I can try and find by using certain filters, etc., to see what I can come up with. Now, in my opinion, especially for an eth grinding team, you need all your outfield players to start. I know that sounds obvious, but if you've got 4 outfield starters who start most game weeks, then your chances of hitting eth and possibly a card increase tenfold. So what I've done, I've taken all the filters off. All I've looked for is the minutes, the goals and the assists. That's all I'm interested in. Obviously, just for this example. Although this is specifically aimed at rare cards, this could be applied to limited cards too. Now the filters I would use as well is just their last 5 games. And I would look for specifically a player who's played the most or as many minutes as possible. Obviously 5 games would equate to 450 minutes. And I would look for players who have not scored or assisted in that time. So that player there, Mabati, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, I do apologise. I've already touched upon him on the previous video, so I won't look at him, but that's the sort of player I'd be looking for. So I would just go through this list and I would stop it at 400 minutes. So any player who's got 400 minutes or more in the last 5 games, and specifically that they haven't scored or assisted, I would look into them and research further. So the player who immediately jumps out to me is this geezer here, George's, and again, I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname. You will see he's played 422 minutes and he scored and assisted 0 in the last 5 games. Now, just Googling in his name, I can see he's played 25 matches this season. He scored 8 and assisted 1. Now, it also tells me, this is just simply by Googling, he's actually on loan from Metz in France. And he's at Soraredata in Belgium, who are a poor side. So given he's scoring on average 1 every 3 games, for me, that's not a bad record. The danger with players like this is because he's on loan, you don't know what's going to happen to him next season. Is he going to break into Metz, for example, or is he going to go back on loan somewhere else? And of course, it needs to be in a league that's covered by So Rare. Now, this is my gallery, and I want to be upfront. I own this player, and I paid a lot more for him. As you can see, 0.0199, which is a lot more than what he is now. And looking at his price graph on Soraredata, you can see within a month, this is the limited card. He's almost halved in value. But for me, especially if you can afford his rare card, I've just noticed that it's 0.0130. For me, for a net grinding team, he is one to consider, in my opinion. He would be definitely one that I would look at. He's a young boy. He's 21, 22 years of age, so he would also qualify as an under 23. And as most people know, any youngsters who hit a good spell of form, they will increase more than, for example, a 30-year-old. So you can see how the market reacts to players in and out of form. And this is why I specifically look for players who score an assist, because in my opinion, if they go through a period where they score all the time, they'll rise, quite a lot in value. And likewise, if they don't score or assist in a while, their value will drop. So I look at opportunities where they are in bad form, like he is, and he would be definitely one that I would consider. His last one was sold for bloody hell, 0.0090. So I've paid about, when I paid or bought him, I paid about 20 odd quid more than what I could get him for today. Now I've switched over to the Turkish league now because I'm trying to find a player that I don't own, because I don't want you thinking this is pumping or anything like that. It's just what I would look for and what I believe will make you money long term. So on this list, I've just had a quick look now. This guy here, he's standing out to me. I can't pronounce his name, but here he is. So-called Sikaleshi or something along those lines. Now, as you can see, going back to his stats, he has scored 0 and assisted 1. However, he's played the majority of the last 5 games, 418 minutes in total. Now, again, in 25 matches this season, he scored 9 and assisted 2. So it's almost a goal or assist every other game on average. He's Albanian and he plays for the Albanian national team as well. Now, his scores or his price range or his price graph, whatever you want to call it, has remained steady. And I would put that down to his age because he's 31, 32 years of age. Now, again, grinding teams, if you need a rare card and a striker, he would definitely be one to consider because he plays the majority of games. His score graph is here for you to see. Now, what you've got to realise, you're not going to be spending 200 quid or 180 quid on a striker who's going to be banging in goals left, right and centre. His record, in my opinion, for taking into everything into account, price and everything, he is decent, especially for an grinding team. He'll score or assist, like I said, on average, nearly 1 every 2 games. And I don't think you can ask for any more for spending that amount of money. If he doesn't score or assist, he will, on average, looking at the yellow scores, you're looking at about 40, 42 points, which, if all you fall out for your players do with their multipliers and their captain choice, then you're not going to be far off hitting the lower end of the threshold. So if you're starting out looking for an F threshold, for as cheap as possible, he would be definitely a striker, again in my opinion, that you should consider. And I do not own this player by any, I just want to let you know, this isn't pumping, this is just showing you exactly how I would use the data that's available on Soraredata at this moment in time to take advantage of the information provided, basically. Now, the younger striker I showed you earlier, I would be looking to flip him because I've got no doubt if he was to score 4 goals in the next 5 games, you could probably double your money on him, on whatever card it is, the limited on rare, purely because he's young. This geezer, even if he was to score 4 or 5 goals in the next 4 or 5 games, his price isn't going to rise as much as a 20-odd-year-old. That's just the way it is. My only bet with this player, although he's started a lot of minutes in the last 5 games, I would research him a bit more to see over the season, was he a regular starter all the time? And by looking at whoscored.com, it's inconclusive. He started 90, he scored twice there, and then he's played 45 minutes, 18 minutes there. But going back towards, he went through a game where he was playing nearly every game. But this is what you're going to find with strikers who are relatively cheap. And I mean with that, with all due respect, because 200 quid still a lot of money, but in comparison to other strikers. So just be wary and do your own research, and you go with what the players that you want to buy and no one else. So if you've got a few hours to spare, there is no doubt in my mind, by using similar techniques and filtering the stats that you think are most crucial, you will find players that will fit within your budget and your strategy. So that's it for me, guys. Again, please do your own research. Don't listen to what I'm saying. It's just my advice, basically. But like I said, you do what you've got to do. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Much appreciated, and I'll see you soon.